Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. In this video, I get to show you some cards. I'm going to show you some cards that I picked up at some last few nationals, but I'm a little bit apprehensive to be doing this little video because I'm going to do a video of showing some really cool cards, but I'm also going to do some tips for the national. This is going to be a little bit different than most because the reason I'm apprehensive, we have some cantankerous old people on here that make fun of some of these tips for the national channels, and it's going to be a little, like I say, going to be a little different. I'm not going to tell you to brush your teeth, wear comfy shoes. If you're watching this, you know if you're going to be on your feet all day, you know what you need to do. But I am going to say this: make sure you put plenty of deodorant on. And that the reason I say that is last year, if you remember in Chicago, it got so hot in there, some of us fat guys were making our own gravy. So just be kind to everybody. But here's my tips. My tips are basically what you need to be doing before the national. But before I do that, I want to advertise that I'm going to be on a show tomorrow night on John 3D 80s Kids. And I'm going to be on there with a panel of guys, and we're going to be showing some old cards and some neat cards. I don't want to really give it up, but anyway, look for John 3D 80s, and we're going to do a video, and look for the time of it and that kind of stuff, when it's going to be released or when it's going to be on, and just get on there and enjoy it with me. Then also, before I get started on this, I want to show you what's going to be brought to the National. I have a friend that's bringing a product to the National, and you need to call him if you're interested, or contact him if you're interested. Email him or look on one of his videos that he did this and comment on that, because he's bringing this product right here. And what you see right here is some card holders. And this isn't just a cheap old card holder. It's made with alder wood and butternut wood, and it can hold any kind of card. There's no chance of it flipping over, or that kind of stuff. And they're only $10 a piece, or $35 for a set of 4. So here's what I'm going to do, though. For those of you that get on his page and subscribe to his channel, make sure and get the information on, because he gives his email on there. For those of you that contact him, the first 4 that email him that says Chris from Missouri is buying me a card stand, you're gonna get a free card stand, and that way you get one first, but you also know the information to get some ordered and that he can bring to the National. Now he's not going to mail the ones that I'm giving away. You can only pick them up at the National. Okay? So the first 4 of you that contact him via email, you're going to get a free stand. Okay, so let me get started on this video. Right here. Tips for the National that you should be doing right now. One of the things I'm doing first is I put all the addresses in my phone of stuff that's important. And what I mean by that is I'm putting the show location in my phone, the address in my phone. I'm putting, of course, my hotel in my phone. There's going to be a meet and greet on Thursday night. Anyone's welcome to come to it, and it's on Thursday night. I'm putting that in my phone. If those of you that want more information on that, pay attention to Mike Baseball Collector. He's putting that on, and you can just be a YouTube watcher and or a YouTuber itself. But come over there and meet everybody. The more the merrier. Put any information, any parties you might be invited to in your phone. And there's a couple of them I know that's going on, but I'm putting them in my phone. The other thing that I'm doing, I'm writing to the show with 4 other people, and it's a couple of them have gone to one's gone to the National with me. A couple of them's gone to Strongsville. That's Brent and Tom, and then Billy Ballgame, another YouTube channel. is going, and then Brent's son Cameron. But I'm having every one of them put the Uber app in their phone. That way, not one single person can slow somebody down. If there's something that we need to get to, we're going to have a backup with an Uber app in our phone. The other thing that I'm doing, if you're traveling with somebody else, you might ought to think about this as well. I'm bringing an extra set of car keys, and I'm giving them to one of the guys in there with me, because if I get stuck at the show, or if I'm at the show where I'm meeting up with a different group of people, I can take an Uber wherever I need to, and then they have the transportation of my vehicle to take. And I just want to make sure that one person doesn't stop everybody else from doing stuff. So that's what I'm doing. The other thing that I'm doing right now is I'm contacting a few dealers. If you've been going to some nationals or you go to some shows, likely you know some dealers and you have their information already. Reach out to some of the big ones and make some deals beforehand. I went to Strongsville a couple of years ago, and I reached out to Stan of Stan's Vintage Cards, and we pretty much made a big deal that would have taken us an hour or so maybe at the show. Maybe not quite that much, but it was a big deal for me. And we had it worked out, and by the time I showed up at his table, it took 5-10 minutes, and it was pretty impressive. So make those deals beforehand. Most of them will share pictures of what they're bringing or that kind of stuff, and then ask them what they're looking for. I know a lot of you out there, and I'm one of them, are going to bring some cards to trade. I can't tell you how disappointed I've seen people be when they bring some cards, show up to a dealer's table, and they're just sure that the dealer's going to give them, they're the cards that the dealer wants, and the dealer's going to give them a good price for them, and they get disappointed and they shut their case, and they walk away not being able to use that as trade bait. So try to do that beforehand. Find out what they're looking for. Find out, just kind of give them an idea of what you have, maybe even pictures sent. And then that way you know what dealers are willing to trade for your stuff and want your stuff. And the other thing that I would suggest right now is when you're talking to those dealers, find out if they'll take a check from you. Cash is king, and cash is always king. But if they know you well enough, some of these dealers need checks and need ways to put cash or put stuff in the bank. Hardly anybody likes to deposit cash that are dealers. That's the great thing about shows for some of these guys is getting those cash. But if they trust you enough and you bring a check, that way maybe you don't have to handle so much money, but you also have a backup plan. Okay, I spent what I brought. Maybe I want to spend a couple $100, and I know a dealer that will take a check from me. Do that. It will save you some time. And if you've worked with some dealers, that cashing that check's not free. You've already paid for that. They trust you. They got your money on other stuff. And another thing, if you got body parts hurting like your back or your ankles or your hips. And if you don't, wait till you get as old as me. Contact a few dealers and talk to them early while you're there and say, listen, I'm going to walk around here, but do you mind if I either leave my bag here or leave something that you might have purchased there, or just say, hey, you got a chair there that I can sit down in for about 10 minutes and they'll tell you, you won't be in the way. They'll tell you. And especially, again, that chair's not free. I'm not going to ask any dealer that I haven't done business with. But I'll be damned if a dealer that I've spent a lot of money with says, no, Chris, you can't sit here. So that's one of the tips that I want to tell you about the dealers. Another thing while you're there, don't be afraid to use the old school check-in method. Any of you guys that were at the Atlantic City know that they had all kinds of problems with their Wi-Fi and different things like that. And so have an idea of what the cards you're going for are worth in a range, especially if you made a list. I've made a list, and let me turn this around. I have a list, and it's going to be color-coded. Now, it doesn't have everything on there yet, but I'm narrowing it down. I'm narrowing that stuff down, and I'm bringing it with me, and I'm going to have an idea of some of the cost of those cards, just in case I can't look up comps there. And the other thing that I want to tell you is, if you're after a big card, I got really close friends that say I never pay sticker price. Well, I'm here to tell you, I never have walked away from a big card over $50. If I'm going to travel 11 hours to get to a show, spend hundreds of dollars on food, and hotels, I'm not going to say, "Oh, nope, I can't buy that. I can't buy that 33 Gehrig because you're $50 too high." Don't be disappointed like that. Now, here's what I'm going to do at this show with that list. I'm definitely going to pick up a big card. I'm going to have a tiered list. I'm going to have some big cards, and I'm going to have some cards that work in runs. But this year at the bigger shows, I haven't picked up what I consider a real big card. I've been disappointed. I mean, yes, I did pick up a Joe DiMaggio Leaf in Strongsville, but I took more money than that, and I came home with money because I worked on runs and stuff, and that's, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I personally am going to find a lower grade iconic card. It might be a 39 play ball Ted Williams, or a 41 play ball, a 40 play ball DiMaggio, or a 41 play ball DiMaggio. I'm going to pick up one of those, but they're going to be in lower grade. And I'm going to work on some fun stuff, like some 41 double plays and different things like that, even some Wheaties, hopefully. But I'm going to do a list. I'm going to do another video once I get my list down to what I'm concentrating on. But take a list and, have fun with it. But here's some cards. The very first National, I followed that rule. I went there for 2 big cards, and I took plenty of cards to trade. And I picked up this Bowman rookie Willie Mays. And I picked up this rookie Mickey Mantle. Now, I can tell you the big dealers that I picked this up on. I picked up that Donnie Hans is a big dealer. I picked up Willie Mays, and then Stan of Vintage Cards. I took a big old picture, one of the first deals that Stan and I ever made, and we became close friends after that. Pretty good friends after that. Somebody that I feel like a friend. And then I picked up some other little cards for runs there, but I definitely picked up some big cards. Well, the second show at the Atlantic City show, I picked up this Joe DiMaggio rookie. And then I also picked up this Lou Gehrig. I traded for that Lou Gehrig at the end of the show because I traded a Ted Williams Leaf card that I'd picked up earlier. And the last card I picked up in Atlantic City was this card here. And if you guys know about this card, that's a hard card to get in the post-war Hall of Fame run. So the last one, National in Chicago, I picked up a bunch of cards. But this was the biggest card that I picked up. I love that card, but it was the biggest card I picked up because I was worried about other stuff. Now this Minosa card, I picked that up. That finished my post-war rookie run with that I had that Minosa in a SGC, and I wanted all of them to be in PSA. And I searched and tried to trade a bunch of dealers, and I got frustrated. And I went to a buddy of mine's table who I can go see him 30 minutes from where I am, and he actually had that Minosa, and we traded for it. So I went all that way and came home with this mini Minosa. So uh, again, to reiterate, get a hold of Drew via email and tell him that Chris from Missouri bought you a card stand. The first 4 gets a free stand. You can only order one, and remember, he's not going to mail it to you. It can only be delivered to the National. The second thing is get on John's John 3D 80s Kid. Look for when we're going to be on there together. It's going to be tomorrow night, but so look for that time, and that's going to be fun. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to look on some other people that gives tips from the National. Even if you're a grizzled old veteran, you might find something. Heck, you might find something funny. But if you have any tips, if you have any other tips, you can post them in the comments here. And guys, the last thing, if you're at the National and you run into me, please stop and say hi and introduce yourself. And if you get a chance, come to the meet and greet on Thursday. Watch Mike Baseball Collector's channel. He'll give you the details on that coming up. And guys, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. But remember, it's only a hobby. Collect what you like.